Is it wrong to be glad that you got bumped from Joy for Andrew Cuomo's press conference at first? I'm like, oh, he's going to have even more to say, and only I'll get to hear it tomorrow. Good morning.
It was actually very soothing. I mean, it's nice to be bumped by Mr. Cuomo rather than being bumped by the orange one. So yeah, I got all kinds of things to say.
No, but you guys came back and you did
Yes.
make the points that it's just like, the tweet I just said and that you're tweeting and writing about all the time. Didn't someone make the point that, well, these reporters' livelihood and they have to have access or they can't file a report
Gosh.
and then their editor isn't. But I just don't get it. Like you say, it's not that hard. Have the next
No.
reporter say, no, I'd like that same answer, actually. Because none of these are nasty questions or gotcha questions. They're all perfectly valid questions, right?
Yeah, all of them are. Look, the debate we're having about these briefings and people saying we shouldn't air them, it's misinformation. We wouldn't be having this debate if every time he had a briefing, he got shred to pieces. If he got shred to pieces for 2 hours, he would not show up. These briefings would not be a problem. I certainly don't watch 2 hours of them. I value my sanity too much, but I dip in and out. And, I saw a CNN reporter who's very good saying, asking about this fake cure that he's peddling. And he basically just snapped at him and told him to be quiet. And I don't know. I don't understand how you keep doing that time and again. Interesting. I have to say this idea that they have to cover this, right? It's a pandemic, and there's this protocol. If the president speaks, you have to cover him. I just posted a column this morning in my newsletter. I was looking back. 2004, Obama asked the networks for 10 minutes in prime time to discuss immigration. They said, no, we're not going to cover it. We don't think it's newsworthy. They're covering Trump. And these are the networks, ABC, CBS, not, the cable news, which is kind of their business. The networks are covering Trump 10 hours a week. They wouldn't give Obama 10 minutes back in 2014. So they have, the point is, they have say in this. They decide, they have editorial judgment, and their editorial judgment is just to lay down for this nonsense.
And Eric, he's actively harming people. He's actively killing people. Try this drug. People have already died. Go to work if you have coronavirus. Oh, this is nothing. Oh, live your life. Oh, you can go back with every single thing he said has been wrong and dangerously so.
Right, and that's the other thing that I keep pounding for the last couple of weeks. The press doesn't want to ask why. Just statistically, you can't be wrong if you're a president in a leadership position and you face national crisis, in this case a pandemic. It's statistically not possible to make every wrong decision for 4 weeks. There's something else going on. He's not just lost in a cloud and he doesn't have smart people around him. I mean, he doesn't have smart people around him, but
he does, but he doesn't listen to them. Dr. Fauci, he doesn't really listen to, right?
Right. Jared Kushner is going to lead us out of the darkness. Look, incompetence doesn't explain what's going on, and we're seeing good reports. Washington Post had a front page piece yesterday. AP had a very good piece, kind of this TikTok. All the decisions that went wrong for the last 3 weeks, all of the time that we lost, but they're not asking why. Why would a president order the country to stand down for a virus invasion? That is a deeply disturbing question, and it goes to the core of what Trump has been doing for 3 years. He's dangerous. He's radical. And the press last week actually went for this tone nonsense. Oh, he gets it. He's going to be serious. Oh, he's turned the page. 2 days later, he's talking about, screwing models at a pandemic briefing. I mean,
I haven't even gotten to that. Oh my God. It is impossible to cover 3 days of this, isn't it? Oh my God. The models. He made a joke about models. 200,000 Americans could be dead from this.
Yeah.
Like, I can't.
48 hours after the press said he's changed. He's figured it out. He's going to get serious. As I said yesterday, he's incapable of change. He's incapable of doing good. Why can't we just admit this? Why can't the Beltway press admit there's a madman in the White House?
Well, and this part that you tweeted about, Eric, the press desperately trying to avoid this stunning fact. POTUS is withholding aid and letting Americans die.
Yes.
We see articles about the White House confusion regarding the virus. No way that explains what's going on. I mean, again, every single day of this presidency is what is impeachable, what's illegal, what is criminally negligent homicide.
Right.
Andrew Cuomo said we may be out of ventilators by Sunday. They've already had the first deaths. Imagine that's your loved one that can't breathe. And he said, are you going to make sure, Mr. President, that New York has enough ventilators? No, they should have thought of that. They should have had enough. I mean, what? How is that just buried in the news cycles? No, I'm just going to let New Yorkers die. Right?
Right.
I mean, yeah.
It's obviously we talked about this before. We're in uncharted territory. We have never had a president during a national crisis lie relentlessly to the American people. I don't care what party you're in, the previous 44 presidents, inconceivable that they would get in front of a microphone day in, day out and lie about a national health crisis. B, withholding aid from a national, withholding all this stuff, this whole kabuki dance about this Defense Act that he brought up 2 weeks ago. Oh, I'm going to invoke it. We are 2 weeks into this. Where is this stuff? Why isn't Ford Motors being ordered? Why weren't they being ordered 2 weeks ago? So it's all planned confusion. The relentless inconsistencies are absolutely central to what he does, and he got that from the Putin playbook. That is how Putin has dealt with the press for a decade. Constant contradictions, constant confusions, to the point where no one has any idea what the policy is. Right. And that's where Trump wants to get with the pandemic. Right. Make it virtually impossible to understand. We're in a hall of mirrors. No one has any idea what the federal policy is on this pandemic. Nobody.
Yeah, by the way, since you brought up Obama, the fact that they keep letting him get away with that. I inherited a broken system. Michael McFaul said, this is insane. To state the obvious, Obama didn't have a test for COVID-19, broken or not, because no one knew about the virus in 2016. He gave me a broken test, a test that didn't work. Like, what?
Right.
He doesn't get right. Sarah Reese Jones says, Trump blames Obama for the coronavirus pandemic and repeats his lie that the military had no ammunition. I mean, they just keep letting him get away with that. He didn't hand you a broken system. He handed you a pandemic response team, a playbook. He handed you stocks of pandemic supplies. I mean, it's just on and on and on, right? And none of this gets asked.
Right. And so I tweeted about that. Obama gave us these faulty tests, which, you can't bend time backwards to create a test. But he has told that lie in public at least 20 times. Right. At least 20 times. And I go back to the column I wrote 3 weeks ago. We're still waiting for the first Trump lies about pandemic.
By the way,
we don't see it. It does not exist.
You saw this, Eric. I need like 7 days with you at a time. I can't even. How about him saying over and over, I shut it down, shut China down early, I saved millions of lives, obviously. First of all, he shut it down late. The disease was already here. And Kyle Griffin tweets, nearly 40,000 people flew from China to the U.S. after Trump enacted travel restrictions that he claims cut off the coronavirus, the New York Times has found. So even that is a lie, right?
Yeah. No, that's his big claim to fame. No one from China has gotten into this country since January, or whatever he's making up. Completely false. And again, you and I have had this conversation for 3 years. This is exactly why the press should have been calling Trump a liar for 3 years, right? Because if we were talking every day, Trump lies about pandemic, Trump lies about cure, Trump lies about supplies, Trump lies about respirators, Trump lies about infection rate. That's a different conversation, and that is a 100% accurate conversation. There's not one news organization in America that would have to apologize or explain any of that. It's this collective. History is never going to understand why the press undertook this massive campaign of self-censorship in terms of describing Trump, and it's all in ugly display now, and it's deadly at this point.
You sum it up perfectly in your piece at pressrun.media. You call it's the normalizing Olympics, and we can't even go down the if Obama had. There were two deaths. Right. There were 2 deaths from Ebola. And guess who said Obama should resign? Donald Trump on Twitter. Right. I mean, and you also made a good larger point. Every crisis mentioned in this article, 9/11, Katrina, financial collapse, pandemic, happened under a Republican president. It's almost like Republicans fail, not America, as they tend to.
And again, this goes back to trying. That was a big Washington Post piece. Oh, the government failed at disaster again. Well, No, the government
Right.
didn't fail.
Worked great under Clinton. Worked great under Obama. Right?
Right. Joe Biden was writing an op-ed in late January, early February. He said, "Hey, this is important. This is a big deal. We got to get on this," because he had lived through the whole Ebola situation. So, look, and I always want to throw this caveat in terms of the pandemic. The press, outside of that Beltway, the DC bureaus, doing amazing work.
Yep.
Doing amazing work. And they're putting themselves at risk. They're trying to get into hospitals. They're trying to talk to the right experts, but it's that DC bubble that just cannot figure this out and is just absolutely committed to normalizing this guy. And we are seeing the deadly consequences of that campaign.
You are my hydrochloroquine, except that you work for me.